My name is Jeff Ginsberg. I am the moderator tonight. Welcome to the annual meeting of the Town of Woodbridge. Greetings to the members of the Board of Selectmen. Greetings to everybody. I now call the meeting to order. The notice of the annual meeting was published in the May 5th, 2023 edition of the Woodbridge Town News, was mailed to each household where an eligible voter resides, and was posted by the town clerk on the town signpost. I would like to entertain a motion to waive the reading of the legal notice. Is there any motion? Any second? All right. According to section 6-2H of the charter of the town, may I have a motion to waive the reading of the legal notice?
You got that.
I got it.
You got to vote on it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, thank you. According to 6-2H of the charter, each and every recommended budget item must be considered, and the budget as recommended by the Board of Finance shall be deemed to have been appropriated unless the sum is increased, decreased, or eliminated by a vote of the town meeting with no less than 250 eligible voters present and voting, and 60% thereof required to carry any motion to increase, decrease, or eliminate any item. No recommended budget item may be increased to an amount greater than the original request for appropriation. There's about 100 people or less here, so we do not have the recommended or required 250 eligible voters present. Since we do not have 250 present, no action on the budget to increase, decrease, or eliminate any item is allowed, and therefore the budget submitted by the Board of Finance will be adopted as presented to the annual town meeting. However, there will be a brief presentation, and then we will encourage everyone's comments or anyone's comments on any item in the budget, and I would ask that you come to the microphone, state your name and address, and address your comments to the appropriate town official. There's a limit of 3 minutes per comment. At this time, I would like to introduce our first selectman, Beth Heller, who will say a few words.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for attending this year's annual town meeting. This gathering is required by the provisions of our town charter, and your participation tonight is most welcome. My family first moved to Woodbridge in 1992, and every year since, I remain in awe how especially beautiful the town is at this time of year. Green grass, colorful tree blossoms, and abundant flowers and flowering shrubs help us celebrate the return of warmer weather. It's a joy for me to see it each and every time. Also at every annual meeting, we celebrate the completion of another budget preparation cycle. After literally thousands of hours of work done by town staff and members of the community who volunteer their time, we now have the final budget recommendation from the Board of Finance for the next fiscal year, set to begin July 1. This year had more than its share of unique challenges, with global inflation coming home to roost, compounding the town's continued static grand list. With that in mind, please know we did all we could to meet the town's obligations, including its commitment to public education and resident demand for municipal services, balanced with great respect for local taxpayers. Rest assured, we made every effort to minimize the local property tax burden by controlling costs and improving efficiency, always with those obligations and commitments paramount in our deliberations. I continue to ask for resident input each step of the way. The Board of Selectmen reviewed and reduced the initial departmental requests and subsequently unanimously approved and forwarded our proposals to the Board of Finance for further review. The budget deliberations required tough decisions guided by careful consideration of the best interests of Woodbridge taxpayers. I hope you will all remember that since last fall, I have been encouraging residents to take an active part in the months-long process of budget development. I consistently wrote that all residents could have a voice in this process. Operating budget presentations began in late January, and the opportunity to ask questions of each department was strongly encouraged, as was attendance at meetings, reading meeting minutes, watching Channel 79, and reviewing meetings on YouTube. Over the past several years, we have consolidated staff positions and reduced programs. From 2016 to 2023, the town department's portions of the adopted budget has increased only by 5.53%, while inflation has been in excess of 25% over those 7 years. During the same period, the Amity budget increase has been 27.33%, and the Beach Road School budget's increase has been 21.68%. Each year, as we convene the budget process, it is clear to me that we need to grow and diversify our grand list. In order to support our priorities, we must focus on growing revenue. In 2020, we created the 2030 Task Force, whose membership includes Woodbridge residents who are both business and town leaders, and they have been charged with seeking ways to create a healthier, robust grand list by 2030. The town can grow its grand list by expanding the commercial district and by offering new and diverse housing. Our 2030 Task Force is examining how to accomplish just that, with the goal of having a healthier grand list by 2030. The task force has already presented its connectivity proposal, as well as strategies on placemaking and other ideas for the business district to maximize grant opportunities. The selectmen voted unanimously to endorse the concepts presented by the task force and authorize the finance director to move ahead with seeking grant opportunities. I look forward to making this vision a reality. Recently, Toll Brothers broke ground for a new housing development on Bradley Road at Litchfield Turnpike. These approximately 70 new units will allow older residents to downsize here in Woodbridge, should they choose to do so, and also attract new and diverse businesses to the commercial district, while potentially adding an estimated $1.1 million or more onto the grant list. Other savings we realized through the regionalization of animal control. We continue to handle calls for Bethany Seymour and may have an opportunity to add Beacon Falls. Additionally, bulk permit fees, weighing haulers' loads, and focusing on recycling can continue to keep our waste management costs down. Over the past year, we made an important progress in some major capital projects. We have a restored commitment to the town's infrastructure, including roofs, roads, and buildings. After years of deferred maintenance, we are overdue in looking at the cost savings of sustainable buildings. Building maintenance has been working on replacing all lights with LED lower cost lighting and installing programmable thermostats. We also need to look at increasing insulation, roof replacement, and double pane windows, all the things you do in your own home for increased energy savings. These infrastructure projects include the Woodbridge Center renovation, the Center Building Gym renovation, the former firehouse renovation, and the Center Building renovation. The Woodbridge Center's transition is almost complete and will hold a ribbon-cutting ceremony next month. When finished, the Senior Center will be a modern, fresh, welcoming, air-conditioned space with excellent ventilation. This project is the result of years of planning, and with state and federal funding will help those over 55 remain healthy and active with new and continuing health and wellness programming. With a steep grant and a portion of the federal ARPA funds, the Center Building Gym will have a modern, efficient HVAC system, refinished flooring, and improved ADA accessibility, among other improvements. This is a room that is heavily used 6 days a week, year-round, by multiple departments, and it is long overdue for this attention. Hopefully, we will resume all our town meetings there as well. With $2 million in federal funding, the former firehouse plans are beginning to look transformative. This building will serve the town as a community and cultural center and will be available for residents and community groups to use. The center building, which was built almost 100 years ago and which houses our police and human services departments, is in dire need of modernization and efficiencies for energy savings. The Board of Selectmen has provided funding for the initial stages of planning with an architectural firm. Another much-needed project that has had our full attention is the Beecher School roof. The Woodbridge School District has been experiencing delays in a roof replacement project due to administrative turnover and pandemic-related disruptions. Please keep in mind the district has had 3 superintendents and 3 business managers from mid-2020 to 2023. The town is currently working with the new superintendent, Vonda Tenza, and the Board of Education to finally get this done. We have been informed by the Woodbridge Board of Ed that the project cannot disrupt academic activities, and as a result, the earliest the roofing and other improvements can be started this summer of 2024. In the meantime, the building committee has continued to urge the Woodbridge Board of Ed to take the necessary interim steps to correct leaks and limit water damage to the greatest extent possible between now and the start of capital project work in mid-2024, and I have been assured this is happening. We have many great departments that make Woodbridge a special place, and I'm going to highlight a few for you. Last week included International Firefighters Day, which marks the lifetime service given by firefighters. Our volunteer fire department responds to calls for service 24/7, 365. In addition to this important service, these volunteers put on tremendous community events like Truck or Treat. They also provide fire education in our schools, train volunteers to properly install car seats, and they hold a toy drive for Christmas and host Santa and Mrs. Claus. Today is Peace Officers Memorial Day. Let us take a moment to remember all the men and women who gave their lives in the line of duty. Their memories will not be forgotten. Our police department is also a 24/7, 365 operation. They have answered 26,809 assorted calls for service to date and responded to 555 activated alarms. Woodbridge Police Department also sponsors Fill a Cruiser to help families with toys at Christmas, volunteers at senior centers, luncheons, participates in Special Olympics fundraisers. 2 officers are assigned full-time to our local schools, and Officer Lynch runs a DARE program at Beecher Road School. Our department also has 2 trained accident reconstructionists and 1 state of Connecticut certified drug recognition expert. Woodbridge Human Services provides social services, senior services, youth services, and veteran services to residents. They continue to execute health and wellness programming, including pandemic assistance such as masks, home test kits, COVID vaccine, and booster clinics, isolation outreach, as well as flu clinics, client advocacy, fuel assistance, v.2 tax assistance, and food pantry coordination and distribution. The Woodbridge Center offers senior services, including a transportation program, meal distribution program, health and wellness education and exercise programs, and social and hobbies classes. Their pickleball program has expanded dramatically over the past year, and they've worked with the Recreation Department to add 2 new courts over the next year. Our Youth Services Bureau coordinates positive youth development and prevention programming, including babysitting program, home alone classes, internet safety, job bank, after-school programs, and community service opportunities for Woodbridge students. The Woodbridge Town Library serves the informational, intellectual, cultural, and leisure needs of the Woodbridge community. The library typically offers hundreds of programs a year, ranging from story times and craft programs to lectures and concerts. This year, the library has expanded its hours to include Saturdays during the summer and has started a new 1,000 books before kindergarten program to encourage early literacy. The Recreation Department offers both youth and adult programs, a variety of summer camps, and maintains facilities including the fitness center, bocce and shuffleboard courts, as well as handling tennis court permits and managing the use of town recreational fields. The department offers swim lessons, yoga for adults, and a volleyball league. They organize the well-attended summer concert series, the annual road race, and the Loga Testa Kids Triathlon. Our Public Works Department is made up of 3 sections: highway, parks, building maintenance, and waste management. The Highway Department oversees 78 miles of roads, including paving and plowing, storm drain, street lighting, line stripping, and trees. This year, they've removed 86 problematic trees and have a list of another 50 or so to address. Building maintenance oversees the maintenance, operation, and security of all town buildings and sidewalks and handles setup and breakdown for most town meetings. Waste management runs our transfer station. So far this year, they have disposed of over 1,985 tons of municipal solid waste, 525.6 tons of recycling, and 205 tons of demolition and bulky waste. I'm delighted to describe some of the many community activities uniquely available here in Woodbridge. Residents can get involved in Massaro Farm, the Woodbridge Dog Park Cooperative, with the PTO and PTSO at any public schools, with the Park Association or the Land Trust. They can use hiking trails, attend the Living Trust event, support the Woodbridge Volunteer Fire Association, concerts on the green, the annual road race, and of course take part in all the wonderful programming from the library, senior center, youth services, and recreation departments. Beyond the exquisite landscape we celebrate in Woodbridge each year in springtime and beyond successful completion of another municipal budget cycle this year, Our community has a great deal to celebrate every year and year-round. Thank you again for participating tonight in the ongoing vitality of our town. Finally, I am grateful to all of the residents of Woodbridge who have reached out to me by phone, text, or email. I value and appreciate your opinions and suggestions and offers to help. I will try to continue to get answers to any questions you may have. As your first selectman, it has been my honor and my privilege to serve this community. We will continue to face challenges, but I'm confident that we will find our way together. Before I introduce our Administrative Officer and Finance Director, Tony Genovese, I'd like to give kudos to our Finance Department, which has seen some significant staffing changes this past year and still was awarded a Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for its comprehensive annual financial report for the distinguished budget presentation to the town of Woodbridge for its annual budget by the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada. It's a mouthful. Additionally, the town of Woodbridge maintains a AAA bond rating from Moody's Investor Services. This rating states that the town of Woodbridge's credit position is superior, and its AAA rating far surpasses the median rating of cities nationwide. With that, I will turn the meeting over to Tony Genovese, our Town Administrative Officer and Director, for a few brief remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. I just have a few brief remarks this evening, just to highlight, is that better? Just to highlight the few changes that were made to the budget at the conclusion of the preliminary budget hearing by the Board of Finance. And they are also highlighted in your annual town meeting notice. First change was an addition of $11,000 to the fire department operating budget to fund a cloud-based software system for fire records management. The second change was to reduce fringe benefits, town fringe benefits by $34,000. That's due to savings in both healthcare and retirement costs. A third is to increase the capital budget by $48,000, which funds costs related to IT improvements in the police department. And finally, an addition of $25,000 on the income side of the budget for interest income due to higher, continued higher interest rates. So the net impact of all of those items is actually zero on the budget. So there is no change in the total mill rate, and the mill rate or the budget amount to be raised in taxes from the preliminary budget hearing, which leaves a mill rate of 45.08 for real estate and personal property, 32.46 for all others.
Thank you very much. I'm going to open up the meeting to questions and answers, reminding everybody that we're going to try to keep it to 3 minutes. I'm going to make the first comment. I just wanted to give some thanks and kudos to the town of Woodbridge's EMT worker. I don't know if he was mentioned earlier, but I would like to advise that the town is very well served by this EMT worker. He's experienced, well-trained, he's well-equipped and very reassuring. I had an incident this past weekend, and he was extremely, extremely helpful, and I want to extend my thanks to him. With that, I would like to open up the meeting for comments. Does anybody have any comment on any of the items in the budget?
Sure. It's a little, Bob Hill, 68 Acorn Hill Road. A question on the EV chargers. Do we have any data how many people use it, or how many times cars were charged on it in the year?
We do not have any specific data, no.
Okay, so I will let everyone know. So the calculation I did the last meeting, the chargers are probably costing me more than the golf course is costing me. And by the way, we're even on the internet on chargehub.com is a free place to charge your car. So anyway, thank you.
Good evening, Anthony Valillo, 30 Dogwood Circle. I have two questions and one comment. An obvious question, why is there a $400,000 contingency in the Board of Finance budget?
Because the town, both town union collective bargaining contracts are expire June 30th, so we do not have any cost of living adjustments in any of our department budgets. So there's an estimate for an increased contingency as a result.
All right, well, that's a good segue to my next question. The single biggest line item other than education is employee fringe benefits. I've been here in the past talking about this issue. Can anyone tell me of the $5.1 million fringe benefits, the employees that are the beneficiaries of those benefits, what is the total base payroll? I'd like to get an idea of the percent overhead of fringe benefits versus base payroll, because I think it's exceedingly high.
I could just tell you, I don't have that specific information on me. I can certainly discuss that with you if you want to stop by my office, but I can tell you that it's probably higher for public safety. But I don't have exact information for you.
Well, the problem that I see is that it keeps going up every year, and I keep bringing up the same question. I don't want to accuse the town of being their own, serving their own self-interest. But I think these programs must be very lucrative. In normal business, you're talking 25, maybe 30% overhead. I bet you the town's at least 40, probably closer to 50. And it's just not sustainable. You need to get control of that line item. You can't just keep asking the taxpayers to support these very generous fringe benefit programs for the employees of this town. That's not the way it should work. Also, my comment really is, as we look at this 45 mill rate, that means there's 164 cities and towns in Connecticut that have a lower mill rate than Woodbridge. There's really only 4 that have a higher rate. Hamden, Hartford, Naugatuck, and New Britain, which means we're higher than Bridgeport, we're higher than Waterbury. You're making Woodbridge an isolated cul-de-sac. People are going to not want to come here because of this tax rate. And people who want to sell to get out are not going to get fair market value for their properties because of this mill rate. Now, I'm sure you think you've done a really good job in developing this budget, and I think you have. I think there's got to be a lot of work goes into this, and I compliment you for that. But you're not doing enough in controlling costs or increasing revenues. I know there was some talk about that. That's slow to happen. But you got to control costs. We can't have a mill rate approaching 50 mills. You will desolate this town. You will desolate the taxpayers. You need to roll up your sleeves and do a better job. Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions?
Thomas Wheel, 70 Woodfield Road. I'm not sure whether anyone up here is competent to answer this question, but since I've moved here, the rating of the Amity school system has plunged. And my question would be, what in the budget or outside the budget is being done to get the system back up to the rating that we enjoyed and were proud of 20 years ago? Thank you.
I would think that that's probably a question to be directed to the Amity Board of Education.
Okay, thanks. I did say I didn't know that anyone here could answer that.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
My name is Lou House, 17 Pleasant Hill Road. And my question is, why at a time when Americans are deeply concerned with voter security has this budget cut voter registration by 10%, approximately? Thank you.
Maybe the registrars of voters could come up and answer that. Okay, I don't know. They're not outside anymore. Thank you, panel. registers.
Yeah, the answer to that question, the budget for the voter, for the registered voters fluctuates from year to year depending on how many elections there are going to be in a year. Because our primary cost is elections. So we have a lighter year next year. We have elections that are cheaper to run. Municipal and referendum are cheaper for us to run than presidential and federal elections. So that's why we're down next year. And we'll probably be up the following year. So it tends to go like up and down.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for your time and for your effort in trying to put together a decent budget. However, I echo some, I'm sorry, thank you. Andrea Urbano, 115 Sperry Road. I echo some of the thoughts previously expressed. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. By Anthony. Despite your greatest efforts, you are failing your taxpayers, or that's how it feels to me. I can only speak for myself. I've been a taxpayer in this town only since 2020, and the taxes have gone up consistently, and it is unsustainable. Beth, you introduced this meeting with lovely remarks on the natural beauty of this town and what a beautiful time of year it is. And indeed, this town is beautiful. And it's because of us taxpayers who prioritize open space and the maintenance of green spaces that it is such. But Beth, I am so tired of hearing you mislead the taxpayers in telling them that the only way we will find relief is through increasing the grand list. It's simply not true. It might be part of it, but it's not all of it. And maybe I've missed something, but I haven't heard any specific benchmarks be expressed or anything that makes me trust that, okay, we'll build here, we'll build there, we'll take away our open space, and finally my taxes will go down. I don't buy it. But instead of speaking the truth and getting into what I view as the solutions, because I'm not the elected officials, I will instead hopefully encourage the townspeople to know that the solution lies in us voting in elected officials who are willing and able to problem solve creatively. And if that requires looking at internal systemic flaws and limitations and those hard decisions, then that's what it requires. That's what we need. That's what I'm asking of you right now, to make life easier for the taxpayers. And if you're going to continue to increase the taxes in this rate, at least give us some notable services that benefit all. Thank you.
Chris Newman, 12 Castaway Road. Nice long speech. Great job patting yourselves on the back. What have you done to decrease the debt? No answer? That's sad. That's why these people here are a little bit pissed. You haven't done anything to decrease the debt. In fact, how much is our debt in our town? Do you know?
We'll have that for you. Hold on. He's got it right here.
Well, last time I asked that question about 5 years ago, we were over $40 million in debt. Is that about right? Roundabout numbers.
I've got that figure for you. Give me a second.
Okay, you genius. Look, is it a lot of money or not? It's a lot of money.
It's down historically.
Down historically, what, to 39 million?
He'll give you the data. Hold on
Okay,
one second,
look.
please.
All I'm saying is, I don't hear you guys doing anything about the debt. All I hear about is spending. In fact, I think, as I saw in the budget, you spend about $2 million a year of our tax money just on the interest. Gee, that money could be used for something pretty great.
So our local debt, as of June 30th, 2022, is $15 million.
Yeah, well, but again, I bet you preface that with saying the local debt. What is the entire town?
So that means that that's our portion of the debt that we owe based on the town. The other portion of the debt is the Amity Regional School District debt.
Okay.
Which is what we owe a third of.
But we
which
owe
is-
that too.
Yeah, so that's another.
And you have unfunded liability
$4
for all the
million.
pensions.
Why don't you let me answer
your question? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so that's another approximately $4 million on top of that. That's our,
Okay.
that's our outstanding bonded debt, if that's what your question was. We also have other liabilities, but those are our outstanding debt, our outstanding bonded debts.
But you also have unfunded liability for pensions, right?
We do.
Everybody in the town who works for the town gets a pension.
We have a pension liability of,
About $5 million a year, right?
it's about a little more, 6 million.
There we go. Okay, so now we're starting to get closer to that $4
But if you
million.
compare us to other municipalities, our debts are actually very low. And
That doesn't sound low to me. Do you carry debt, sir, at home? Your credit cards? I bet not.
this is not about what I do at home, sir.
Yeah, but it's about for us.
All right, let's keep
what
it
we have
away
to
from
pay.
being
All right,
personalized.
so let me just make a couple suggestions, what you might be able to do. Number one, this shouldn't be here. This should be a referendum for the entire town, because it affects all of us. We all have to pay into this. Now, perhaps you have to do something about the charter so that we all get to vote on a Tuesday, all day, not just, coming for a few minutes, and we don't have 250 people, so you guys get your way. You guys also, I saw on the budget, 700,000 or thereabouts for the Board of Selectmen? That's about right figure? There's 6 of you.
They don't get paid
What is that money for?
This is,
to run the town. Look at the line items, go ahead. Read some of
Okay.
the line items.
Well, let me pass over one
First
other thing.
selectman is the only paid member of the board of selectmen.
I see, okay. I didn't. And then I saw in the newspaper, something about you wanted to spend $250,000 on the center gym that we use basically for voting purposes.
yes. We're not, we
$333,000,
have a grant to do that.
which came from tax money, it doesn't come from here.
Okay.
It's a grant. Time is up. Next person.
Dr. Alan Davidson, 15 Edgehill Drive, Woodbridge, Connecticut. I've lived in the town for 51 years now, and I just want to answer some of these questions. At the last meeting, it was brought up that Eastern Connecticut's town was similar to ours and had a much lower mill rate. The mill rate, as we all know, is a total assessed property value divided by the budget, then assessed to the property, given to the tax bill as a percentage of the property value. Each town has a different property mix, including housing mix, business mix, and even automobile mix. A simple way of seeing how one town is doing fiscally is to compare the budget divided by the total population. What does each member of the town owe, so to speak? And see how much is apportioned to each individual. The population per capita income is quite similar in Eastern Connecticut and our town. Although we have 24% under 18 years old and they have 22%, meaning we have more young people of school age than they do. Woodbridge population is approximately 9,087 or something like that, and our budget comes out, when you do the math, to 6,190 per person. While Easton, with a population of 7,605 and a total expenditure of $48,574,643, comes out 6,875. You can fiddle with the numbers, previous budget, surplus, taxes, etc., but basically, we're doing fine.
Thank you.
Any other budget-related issues to be brought up? Seeing none.
Just a couple other questions.
Step right up.
By the way, just a quick suggestion on the EV charger. You might want to put an honor envelope there to mail into the town, so maybe some people can pay for it. You might want to, when you start charging, you might want to charge a little more than what it costs us. Maybe we can make up for the last 9 years of free. So one of the big topics in town has been the affordable housing, and Toll Brothers property, I don't think there's any affordable housing in there. And with the taxes the way they're going, we're becoming less affordable. So these are all things for you to think about. I am interested to know if we figured out how many people per hour work at the library versus how many we're paying. I did a calculation the last meeting. The average full-time employee was $48,000, which is $23 an hour, and I calculated the part-time people somewhere between $18 and $20, which I don't really know the number, and it came out to 9.64 people per hour with the full-time and the part-time. And so, and I know the director was thinking he had less, so I'm kind of curious about that. And then the other thing I thought about, which may save us some money, I can remember my mother-in-law, before she retired, she actually used to volunteer in the library in the town that she lived in, Melrose, Massachusetts. What a novel idea to save us some money. So do we know how many people work? Have we figured out do we go back and do a little payroll assessment? Did maybe a little payroll audit there to figure out what's going on? I guess not.
About the library, this is a question not clear.
So the last meeting,
Yeah.
I mean, we make these comments, and we're hopeful that they're researched after we make them, not just nothing happens. And I did a calculation that basically, based on the 7 full-time employees that were noted in the book, and I took the part-time employees and I divided by either $18 an hour and 20. I think it's a pretty reasonable number to work with, and I come up with a number of hours and I divided it into the 54 that the library operates, and I came up with there's an average of 9.2 to 9.64 people working every hour. And the director didn't think there were that. He says there's 3 people downstairs and 2 upstairs. And I guess when you do that, you do a little calculation. One of the questions, the additional questions I have is, how many transactions do we process in a year's time? In other words, how many people are served in a year's time? Because then you take that and divide by the man hours, and you figure how many people per man hour people are. That's what people do in business.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Josh Middleman, 3 Fieldstone Drive. I'm an electrical engineer by trade, project manager. I just want to commend you guys for the EV chargers. I think by 2035, about then, most cars in the United States will be fully electric, and I commend you and wish you install even more chargers. The country needs more infrastructure. We need more EV chargers. We need more everything to come about. Oil's going to be going, so we got to do what we can to install even more chargers across this town. Thank you.
Anyone else? Last call. Going once.
One quick follow-up question. I think, you mentioned the project on Bradley Road. I'm sorry, you mentioned the project on Bradley Road, and I think you said it was gonna add $1 million to the grand list. When I look at that thing, I would have thought it'd be a lot more than that.
When it's complete, our
Only $1 million?
Part of it depends on how much, it's an estimate on how much the units will be, sell for, so it's sort of preliminary at this point.
Somebody needs to pay attention to that, because if it's only $1 million, somebody is pulling the wool over our eyes, because it's a lot more than that.
70 units.
70 units and it's $1 million? Come on.
Revenue, that's the revenue.
No, I thought you said it was gonna add $1 million to the grand list.
No, that's the tax revenue.
Well, that's what I heard, I'm sorry.
Revenue.
That's the taxes, yeah.
I did hear. All right, you might have misspoke.
Could have,
It's obviously not $1 million.
yeah.
Okay. Going once? Oh, there you are.
I'd like to make a comment. Hi, I'm Andrea Weinstein, 11 Cross Hollow Road. I would just like to say thank you. I know it's very challenging times, and I feel as a whole the town has done such a great job of keeping everyone healthy and providing extraordinary services. So I think there are many services that are available to the town, from human services to recreation to the library, that did a phenomenal job of keeping people literate and healthy and involved as much as possible. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Any Any other budget-related questions? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Unanimous. Thank you very much, everyone.